So when we learn about this age of exploration, how do they know where they're going, all these explorers? So if we learn about like Columbus and Magellan and stuff, how do they know where they're going?
Well, Columbus got lost.
Did they sail
Like, really lost.
So that's the question. Because did people just get in a boat and then they just like sail somewhere and hope that would work out? Here's what I'm gonna ask you to do. First of all, I know we all know what a compass is. But we're gonna start with this. These people without GPS, without compasses, if we talk about like Columbus or Magellan, or we're gonna talk about someone today named Henry the Navigator. When we talk about these explorers or people who set up exploration, we need to try to figure out, first of all, how did they get anywhere without just like, sailing off the edge of the earth, so to speak. So, I want you to notice this. We have to figure out how people oriented themselves. As we study geography, I want you to notice, and I'm going to ask you to try to figure this out for yourself. Here's one example. I want you to watch this. You don't have to do this. I've shared with you a link. It's 5 different ways to orientate yourself or figure out where you are, or figure out where you're going without actually having a compass. Who has a phone with a compass? I have a compass on my phone right now. If I get that out, I can find exactly where north, south, east, and west are really quickly. But for these explorers, how do they do this? Here's one method you might want to try. With your group, you're going to try to do this. You'll have 15 minutes to try to create or try to figure out directions in this room without using any technology. So here's one way to do that. Check this out.
Привет, товарищи! Вот, внимание. Today's topic is how do we find true north without a compass?
You guys see?
It's actually quite simple. The only thing that we're going to need is the sunlight, and we need the sunlight bright enough to cause a shadow on the ground. As you guys can see, I'm marking the beginning with a rock, and I'm also marking the end with another rock. This is a time lapse of about 30 minutes, maybe a minute more, a minute less. I'm not entirely sure, but this is about 30 minutes. Now don't worry if you have some shadows. In this case I had a lot of dark clouds and such, but don't worry. The sun will come out and you will see the end. And now I'm marking it with another rock. Now, how all of this works is the first rock that you set down is your west point. The second rock you put down, it becomes your east point. So, right now we have east and west. Now, if you guys can't remember a direction, this is how it works. North, east, south, west. Another easy way to remember that is never eat soggy waffles. If you want to get a more accurate north, what you do is you get a straight object like this, and then you stand in front of it, matching up to this line. So whenever you actually stand in front like this, that's your north. So if you stand like this, you can visually see your north going that way. So that would be your north. Yep. North, east, south, and west. With that being north. It's all in all a very simple thing to do. It only takes you about between 15 to 30 minutes depending on what kind of terrain you're at and how well you can see your shadow. Remember, the taller the stick, 2 feet or more, the more accurate your reading will be. As you guys can see, it's a super easy thing to learn and very easy to remember. The only thing that you need is
Oops, sorry. Okay, I'll let you watch that later. I like Dire Straits. In any case, what I need to be able to do though is this. I want you to investigate this with your team. 5 easy ways to find north without using technology, basically. Without using your phone or something, without using a compass, which I don't think anyone's actually carrying a compass around with them today. So, to do this, I want you to divide up some work today between you and your teammates. Here are the 3 different roles we have. I want you to talk. I don't care who's what. But I do care that you write down who's going to be the researcher, that's the person who's actually gonna use their computer at the beginning here. And you guys can access this article or this post with these 5 different ways. And you're the coordinator, somebody who's gonna kind of direct what you're doing to make sure we're on task here for the next 15 minutes and for a big part of class. And then someone to share with the class, your speaker. So grab these papers I just gave you. I don't think I gave you guys a paper, to do it now. Grab these papers I just gave you and just take about 1 minute, and I need to see that everybody has written down what everybody's role is. Each team, write down who's the researcher, who's the coordinator, who's the speaker. Decide that now. And we'll create it. You guys researcher is going to actually use the computer. Coordinator is going to make sure everyone's on task. And speaker is going to share that. About 40 seconds. You guys can't skip the role of
No.
20. Write this down, guys. Thank you. You guys can skip the coordinator. Thank you, Jacqueline. 7, 6, 5, 4. All right, I'm gonna start a timer here, guys. Here's what we're gonna do. Need y'all with me in 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. Thank you for stopping, looking, listening. Need you with me for just a second. Thanks, Eddie. All right, here's what we're gonna do. I want you to pick a method and try it out. You have 15 minutes. I'm gonna start a timer. In these 15 minutes, I don't care if you tape stuff on the floor, I don't care if you just set the compass on your table, but you might want to find some way to anchor or fasten the compass to the wall or ground or whatever you're going to create to find out what north, south, east, and west is in this room. You're literally going to put the compass or whatever you create in the room. Questions before we start?
Do you have to make it cut?
Here's what I'm going to tell you. First thing you're going to want to do, good question. First thing you're going to want to do is take a look at this post, and there are 5 different ways suggested. Take a minute and pick one method, or if you have another method you think will work, try that out. Our goal here is to discover how Europeans explored the world, but the first thing we need to figure out is how did they even know where they were going? Because they did not have phones, obviously, and they did not have the type of technologies such as compasses that would work all over at all times. So, we want to figure out, 1, how do we even determine direction? And 2, how do they know where they're going? So, to do this, I want you to experiment with this. So check out the post first, and pick an idea and go with it. 15 minutes. Other questions? Hold on 1 second. Jai, do you have another question? All right, I'm gonna start the timer now. You have 15 minutes. Go. What's up? Yeah, sure. Absolutely. All right, who's doing what, by the way? Let's write this time real fast. You're our researcher, Eddie. Who's our researcher over here? So right now, Evolution is the only person who has a computer. It's okay if you turn your computer, you guys discuss what you want to do.
And then you.
We need to define that with the methods, okay? Define it. Right now. Who's our researcher over here? So, right now, the only person who should have a computer is Julie. What I want you all to do is take a look and talk together about a method you think we try out here. You need to figure out which way is north and possible. So who's our researcher over here? So right now, we have the only person with a computer. Figure out what we're trying to figure out. 13 minutes, that's a good idea. So what's your ultimate goal?
We don't have a price for
Wait.
So what's your ultimate goal? Okay. And you're gonna figure out what? And figure out what are we trying to figure out?
Can I borrow this?
In this room, what direction is? You have a watch or what do you need? Let's not go to Mr. Lynn's classroom. But you can borrow anything in the room you want to. What do you need? Stick? Lynn? Yeah, you can borrow anything in the room, feel free to borrow. Alright, so what method are you guys gonna use? Oh, the shadow method, okay. So where do you? So the shadow method. Where you guys can go? Remember, you can't, but then come back here and make sure you can transfer them to where North is in the room. Right? That's not gonna work.
Can you borrow this? No, tripod. I need a stick. So. Oh, really? Oh. Oh, okay, sorry. Sorry.
Can you make sure it's, hey, what if you make sure it's capturing the entire room?
Oh.
Hey,
Oh, sorry.
What's your method?
Some can be a price.
What are you gonna do? You only have 11 minutes.
Hey, wait, sun, yeah, sun is a star. We only have 11 minutes.
Oh, good. Really good idea. Yeah, 'cause you
Let's
get
get this and then.
Oh, no.
You need it, and then like sometimes do it.
Let's go find, let's go find.
Who has one? To the arm and then. Let down Finest day.
See what I have back here. I'm sure it's a great idea.
Go on.
About 10 minutes.
I don't know about it.
No technology. No phones. No looking it up as cheating.
I don't think it's.
I'll tell you what, actually, I had 6th graders last year. I had 6th graders that figured out True North in the room using one of the methods. We did it in about 10 minutes. Yeah. Someone already took it, but if you see something else, you'd like to And William and Olivia and Easton, where y'all off to? Where I can't hear you. Where? The courtyard? Yeah, sure, you've only got about 8 minutes though, okay? From where? Chopstick, yeah, go.
Take a stick, take your recorder. No, this one, the shadow one. No. Your water bottle. Is it big? Oh yeah. It's a big stick. Well, we can have one. We just wash it. We need two. Why do we need two? No, not the pencil, just tape. Yes. Where do you think the sun is the brightest? Probably down there, right?
Here, is this the middle?
What?
Is it too high?
我不想牺牲，因为我简单，而且今天没有上课。
We're trying to find your.
If it's only like 30 seconds in each place, so the camera can use it. Thanks. Kind of non-traditional.
Well, I can.
You just take the.
I guess that's the week.
Can you describe what you're doing here?
We're trying to make a watch because we don't have one. And
How your shoes
supposedly, if you point the hour hand of the watch at the sun and you make a half angle with the minute hand, it's supposed to point south.
Anything else that we can
So
do?
we can find north by going the opposite way.
Okay. Where are they? This is our group too, down here?
Yeah, down there. Sucks. Wonder if they have time to do it.
Can't really see with the
Right.
glare there. Here's another group using the sun.
Does the classroom have the long ruler, like the one on your cinema?
You better ask Mr. Murray.
Is that a little ruler?
No, the one ruler.
Is that the long ruler? I think they're using it down there. I think I saw it in Korea. I only have one, yeah. They stole the good, I know they stole the good, device. But you know, that guy just used a long stuff here. So it doesn't have to be that tall. You can use any kind of stick. Fine. You only got 5 minutes though. 4 minutes actually.
Okay, so what are you making here? Okay, that's right.
It's more like here.
Do you zoom this thing?
I think that is it.
About 2 minutes, guys.
Does the sun go from west to east or east to west?
Sun rises in the east, sets in the west.
Okay, sunrise to west.
Also, okay, we got close.
All right, got 1 minute, guys. 1 minute. Make your best guess. Come on up. Yeah, which way north?
That side's no. That side. Yes, that side. Yeah. Especially, trust that. Don't trust that. Don't trust the internet. Trust the game. Trust the nature. Trust that way. Trust that way.
We're about 22 degrees north by.
It's as if you're near the equator of the southern hemisphere.
I think they mean, maybe which country?
The watch. If you point the hour hand at the sun and then you find 12 o'clock, you have the angle between the hour hand and 12 o'clock, and then that's supposed to
I think that's, destroy my eardrums. I think it's, okay, I just gotta turn this off.
A fire alarm.
Oh my gosh, don't turn it off on its own. I make it looking, that was terrible. It should be okay, you're not that far south.
How do we do in this group?
Good. It worked. In theory, I had to build the bowl made of paper tape and like a tape thing that was like this wide. So it didn't really work, but it kind of worked, and according to our
Alright, let's see how we did, y'all.
it does work. So no,
Okay.
I guess it did work.
All right.
Which way did you say north?
Probably.
Which way did you say north? Let's find out. You said you found that in your office too, right? Where you're, hello? Did you guys figure it out?
Yes.
Okay, let's see what happens.
What if it's actually that way? Yeah. See, it is that way. Yeah. Okay.
Ah. Alright, need y'all with me in thinking for 10, 9, 8, 7, 6, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. Time. Alright, at this point, go ahead and close your computers, have a seat, keep your eyes up, keep your voices up, and let's answer the big question. All right, ready? You got everybody? Close to our bench, Jack. Here's the big question. I want everybody to do this. I'm going to ask some individuals, some speakers in a minute, what they just have the methodology that you all use to figure out where north is. But for right now, so I want everybody to do. I need you to point to north. Which way's north? Give it a good point to this way. Okay. So the goal of this is to figure out how incredibly complicated figuring out where you're going is. So obviously the age of exploration was a time of Europeans going all over the globe. So when we look at this time period, we want to figure out how did Europe, which was so isolated and so backwards in the dark or the Middle Ages, where it was so isolated and so small and so by itself, how did this smaller continent of people come to dominate the world? Well, first of all, let's figure out how they knew where they were going. Let's take a look at the methods we used. All right, Eddie, who's your speaker over here? All right, so Brian, could you tell the class, what was your method and which way is north?
So, obviously, it didn't move much, so we just took whatever little distance that actually moved, and then we times it by 2.
You used which method?
The shadow method.
The shadow method. All right, so you didn't have enough time, so you tried to cheat the method, so to speak, right, and multiply to speed it up. Okay, so and you guys decided which way is north?
Around this area.
And this way is north.
Yeah.
All right.
It's like
Jai, who is your speaker over here?
me.
Oh, Jai was your speaker. Jai, as representing yourself, could you tell us, how did you try to determine north and which way you think north is?
So you think north is that way because we just used, I made like a makeshift bowl really quickly, so I couldn't tell that well. Just made myself a bowl, then made myself a fake leaf, and then used a paper clip, and then it pointed that way.
And so why would that work? Why would that work?
Because it's like the small piece of iron or whatever it is points, uses the magnetic fields of the earth, and it just flips it around and shows you where you're going. And it's really easy.
Ingenious method. Cool. Let's see if you're right here. Mia, who's your speaker, Mia?
We use the watch method where you're supposed to point the hour hand at the sun, and then half the distance from 12 o'clock at the hour hand, and it's supposed to point south, and it was that way, so north is probably that way.
Okay. Anybody else want to share a different method they use? Okay, I haven't done this in a while, let's figure this out, I think I know.
Wait,
But who's got their
Ethan-
phone out? Who's got their phone out and check? So let's do it right now, you have your phone, you get your phone out and check. If you have your iPhone, it comes loaded with your compass, right? Let's figure this out. iPads do too, you're right. Here's my compass. Google can't lie to us, Apple can't lie, so it's good. Oh, calibrating my compass.
Okay, yeah.
It's pretty,
Alright, yeah, I've got north. Alright, this is what I've got. I've got north this way. Everyone else have north this one?
Yep.
Alright, so if you had north pointing this direction, you did a pretty darn good job of figuring out how you could determine direction without using like GPS technology and without using an actual pre-made manufactured magnetic compass. That's really good. Good job, guys. Bob, who figured out north? True north. It's pretty darn good, guys. So I want us though to start to figure out then how people did this before modern technology, especially, well actually, check this out. This is a mystery. What we're going to look at first of all, you're going to rotate to 3 different stations today, but before you do that, you're going to find out about this great mystery that no one's ever quite been able to figure out. There's this guy named Henry, and he got the name of the Navigator, so you might figure out what he did just from his name. He was a prince. He was a Portuguese prince. Portugal's right next to Spain. And Portugal's a tiny kingdom, just like it is today, a tiny little country. This tiny little country felt very isolated during the Renaissance. But, as you'll find out from reading a brief biography later about Henry, Henry had a secret. No one is quite sure how, but when you look at this document, you will find out that this guy, Prince Henry of Portugal, Henry the Navigator, who opened a school devoted to navigation and to geography and cartography, or the science of map making, they somehow, he and the people who worked with him, somehow collected maps from all over the world, from China, from Arabia, and from and other places in Europe. They were able to collect dozens and hundreds of maps that actually, even though he never left Europe except to fight in Morocco, I believe, against a Muslim kingdom, they were able to somehow find and accumulate and use incredibly accurate maps of the world. Some people credit the Chinese. Some people credit other explorers. Some people credit Europeans. No one's quite sure. But he collected these maps called Portland maps. And I want you to do the following. I want you to analyze maybe the most famous Portland map or Portland chart. This is one actually used by this prince you'll learn about today named Henry the Navigator and the people who worked with him to map and then explore the world. Anybody ever been to Brazil? Oh, really, actually, been to Brazil. Who knows where Brazil is? Good. Brazil, if you didn't know, was colonized by the Portuguese. Portugal, if you can't quite remember what it looks like on a map, is incredibly tiny. Brazil, one of the largest countries in the earth, was controlled for a long time by the tiny little country of Portugal that's right on the corner of Spain here. They were the first group of people, the first Europeans, to explore the world. And Henry, this prince, was a big reason why. So let's look at Henry the Navigator first. You will need your computer for this activity, but I would urge you to write this down on paper with your team. Have the researcher use their computer. The coordinator, I want you to help coordinate and lead and get us through this activity. And the speaker, be ready to share what you find out about Henry the Navigator. Let me hand you the papers, and then we're going to talk together about how to analyze this old map that was used by Henry. So, if you would, grab a pen or pencil if you don't have one out, take a copy of these, and let's see how Henry and other Europeans started to figure out where places were under the surface. First of all, using their own maps that they accumulated. Take a copy of these guys? Would you mind giving one to everybody over here? Thanks. Excellent. And Jerry, would you mind giving a copy of this to everybody over there? Hand on everybody over there. It took me about 20 seconds. All right, you won't need your computer for a minute, researchers. Thank you. But let's just look at how to analyze the map. We're going to skip all the way. Thank you, thank you, Genius. We're going to skip all the way. Sorry. We're going to skip all the way to the last document. This Portland map, and it sounds like Portugal, that's not a mistake. This Portland map, we're going to call this document D today. And just like with your research paper, I'm going to ask you at the end of class to cite some documents, to cite a couple of sources that you're going to read through today and learn from today, to try to explain this mystery of how Henry and other Portuguese people started to explore the world. Thank you. You want more? Here. Thank you, Gene. All right, so to do this, I want you to go to the very back. Go to the very back of this document. Actually, the second to last page. I'll pull it up here. Here's a great way to analyze a primary source, an old document, in this case a map. I'm going to zoom in here, and I want you to look up your copy. All right, let's read through this, what you're going to do together here with your group. Kyle, would you mind reading the directions here for document D, this Portland map? I'm sorry I called it Portland map A. That just adds another letter, which is super confusing. But we'll just call it the Portland map. Would you mind reading the directions for D here? Kyle?
Click on the link to Portland map A, analyze it by answering the questions to him. We collected maps of this by building the world's best collection of maps. Took an early among the European kingdoms in exploring and colonizing the rest of the world.
Thank you. My hand was up too quick. It was only the one that I was the one back. Sorry, Gene. All right. So once again, you're fine, Gene. Once again, these Portland maps. You just click on the link to go there. But here's how I want you to analyze the maps. This map. Analyze it in these 5 different categories. Would you mind, Elliot? Would you mind reading about origins? What are we going to do when we analyze or figure out the origin of the map? Would you mind reading that?
is from when, where, and when.
Thank you. So it's pretty easy too. You grab your pen or pencil, this is really simple. Oops, that was something. If you grab your pen or pencil, this is from the Library of Congress in the United States, which is one of the world's best collections of primary source documents. But obviously, let's figure this out real quickly. Talk to your team. Who is the author and when was this created? Pretty simple. Take about 20 seconds. And write it down too. Feel free to. This is the origin. So right now for origin, this map was created when and where, if you know that, and who created it. Good, good. Origin. About 15 seconds. Sorry about that, Eugenia. Where did you put all those pictures? Can I ask someone to share with us in about 10 seconds? Tell us about the origin of this document. 10. About 5 seconds, Julie. Share it with us something about the origins of this document. Can you jot with me in 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. All right, Julie, tell us something about the origins. What can we learn about the origins of this document? Excellent, we got a date. Library of Congress says this map was created way back in 1633. Excellent. What else did we find out about the origins, Evan?
It's from Portugal.
It's in Portugal. Absolutely. Where did you see that, by the way?
It's not on there, but probably from Portugal.
Yeah, I told you that, yeah. Make sure you can find it. I don't know, I actually personally don't know if it was created in Portugal or not. Because what I've read about Henry the Navigator is he sent people around to other places in the world. Specifically, he had good contacts in the Muslim world with having fought and worked with the Moorish kingdom of North Africa. And there were people trading in East Asia. So it's quite possible this map actually was created somewhere else. But we do know what else though, Evan?
The author.
Yeah, we have the author too. At least Library of Congress goes confident that, I don't know how to say his name, Pascal Royce was the author. So we can establish that for sure. All right, so that's what I want you to do is go through and with your team, figure out what you can about this document. Let's take a look at the other categories of information we can find when we analyze a primary source like this. Jacqueline, what's next? After we learn about the origins, what can we look for next? What does content mean? Could you tell us?
Describe what you see on the map and what is meant to be in it.
Thank you. And keep going, Brian Chu, what's next? What else can we learn about from this document?
Purpose. Why was this map made?
Very important. Now, that question itself, I need you to think about this a little bit differently. It's not why was the map made for you, or how does it help you, but when we analyze the purpose of a map, why would the author, why would a Portuguese, presumably a Portuguese author, why would this cartographer, this author, create this map? What was the purpose, do you think? You may not know all the answers, but you can write down what you know. Evan, could you tell us about value? What does value mean?
How is this map helpful for sailors as they explored and colonized the world?
Excellent. So we want to think about the value to the people at the time. You can also think about the value to you. How is this map valuable to you as you study the age of exploration, as you study Henry the Navigator, as you study Portuguese explorers, and you study this, well, we know the time period now, in the 17th century, around 1633. And lastly, this is super important. Jerry, what's the last section we want to think about?
Limitations. What is not part of this map that sailors could have used for help?
Thank you. I think that was a bit confusing the way I wrote that. I would actually put this too. How is this not helpful in our study of the age of exploration? You want to also think about how does a source not help you? What else do you want to know? What do you still want to learn? All right. So with your team, I want you to go ahead and fill this out. Researchers, use your computers. Look at the map together through one computer, please. Coordinators, make sure we stay on task here. And then speakers, you're going to share in about 12 minutes. How long, y'all? I've just done about 12 minutes. I'm going to set a timer. You got about 12 minutes. Ready? Set. Go. I'll turn the volume off, I promise.
Describe what you see on the map.
Yo. Oh, that's a good question. Wow, I didn't think you classified this by political, physical. Think about, I think more importantly, what's the purpose, do you think, of this map? What were these people trying to do? Alright, so do you think that that sounds more like a political map, a physical map, or some type of a thematic map, or a combination of those? So what kind of map would you call that? That's a good idea. Maybe just a little bit.
What's it called?
What is it?
So for your, I think you can be very basic too, what do you see on here? I see a bunch of, I mean, we can't read 14 paragraphs, whatever this is, but what do you think all these things are? Seriously. Yeah, land, what would you say this is all these labels are for? I would say too. I think some of them are groups. This is some type of like pre-latitude and longitude way to organize the space they have latitude, right? Because there's no actual latitude and longitude being passed. So this is a different type of system for might be because some really organized geometrically.
It's like water colors and color
It's like not.
This is that the organization of something?
It's like.
Oh, what is that? Yeah, that's a right, it's geometry or something.
Well, actually, there is this way
it's a grid system.
Yeah, good, it's a good.
And then like,
It's radiating.
and then I remember,
You might be right, I'm not sure, but I think you're honest. Alright, you guys station A over C. You guys are D over here, right? We'll need this later, these documents. Any questions? And you are C, and that means you guys are D. I'm gonna leave this here, you'll need this.
Which round?
so there's supposedly the place where they are at.
Why else would
There's sometimes they.
More like the center of more like the center of
There's sometimes.
There's two red lines. One is circular, one is circular.
About 6 minutes.
How helpful.
But did they actually drop it?
Which round?
Alright guys, you guys doing okay? Questions right now? This document, these documents will be a little bit now, which will need them later, okay? But what do you think all the writing is?
Mr. Murray.
Might be like
And where is all the writing centered on? It's only on one part of the land, right? Where?
Like, are those things in the corner compasses I should have?
Ooh, let's take a look. What are you talking about? Let's take a look at it. Good question. I'm gonna leave this out. Ah, do you think that's a compass? That's a great question. So my Portuguese is still in but you notice the map lines look weird, but it's not like I'm on. There's like the sideways like grid system. So I don't know what that is exactly. But I wonder if it's associated with that, or what might be a compass. What's your
What's
message?
What is
He said I'm asking to speak about origins of that. 3 minutes. I'm gonna have your speaker here speak about probably purposes. Any questions? Actually, content.
Yeah, content.
Why, what's wrong?
So are we speaking about
No, content. Why do you think this matters? If you haven't analyzed the values and limitations, because they're speaking here. John, I'm gonna have you guys talk about values and limitations. If you haven't gotten to that, you got about 2.5 minutes to start looking. What's the value, limitations? Same thing here, I'm gonna ask you guys about values and limitations. Who's our speaker? Just be ready to talk about what you don't know. Okay?
I don't know what that is. What's maybe the flags. Yeah, the civilian flags from. Like, I don't think they. It's like.
90 seconds.
What else do they want? Oh yeah, Sarah.
Okay.
Maybe like the. Oh no. Maybe like a scale of alcohol. Oh yeah, scale. There's a scale. Say a scale. There's a scale. But there's no like. But there's so many. Because right.
Forty seconds. Be ready to share in about 40 seconds. Okay. So think about the value limitations for you too. How is the valuable to you? How is it
I think that should be, yeah, that's like the Mediterranean.
You ready for the terrible beat? Oh, nothing. Okay, that was nice. Alright, no music. Okay, I'm gonna ask you to stop. I'm gonna ask you all to get back with me. You do it in about 10 seconds. You do it in 10, 9. You do it in 7, 6, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1, 0. Let me zoom out of here so I know where I'm at. Ah, there we go. Okay, let's talk about this. If your computers are open, could you please close them right now? And I'm gonna ask Eason to start over here. We already talked about origins, but I'm gonna ask you what else you found out about origins or anything else. Eason, what else did you guys find out? Okay, so how about anything else? Content, purpose, value, limitations. Sure, content. How would, if Magellan had not sailed around the world, if Christopher Columbus had not been, well actually 1633, for later than that, but especially if we're in the early ages, age of exploration, and there were maps that were similar to this before Magellan sailed around the world, which was before 1633. How would they acquire these maps? Trading. So that's something to keep in mind. But yes, it has a pretty accurate depiction of what the world looks like. It's pretty amazing. In a time before most of these areas were, as far as we know, were explored, certainly by Europeans, that these maps are so accurate. North America, obviously, well, it's not so accurate because, well, parts of it had been explored too. That's a good point. All right, moving on. Over here, our speaker's Brian, right? Brian, tell us about the, what else about content did y'all find?
On the map, we found the content on the left, top corner, skill on the bottom, I believe, and we decided to put it as a political map because it shows different kingdoms, presumably some towns and different routes. Even though political maps are supposed to have different lines that show the border of places in like the 1600s, so that wasn't really a thing. There is 2 circular circles in about the middle of the map. It's on the ocean. And we thought that maybe the center point is the place where they may go to that point and try to navigate to other places with the lines that they crossed.
Who's used the Y and X axis in math class before? Of course you have, right? So it's not set up on a straight grid system, but let's be honest, the Earth's round too.
And
So
different grids. Two or three.
there's some other grid system that they're using, and pardon my ignorance, I am not a expert in 17th century photography. But if you didn't know this, there was no such thing as longitude developed at this time. Longitude is not developed until much later by the English. And when the English developed longitude, they based it in England, by the way. That's why 0 degrees longitude, prime meridian. Longitude was not a concept that people really understood at this time, meaning that nobody knew how wide the Pacific Ocean was. Even if you sailed across it, nobody knew where Hawaii was. Nobody knew how wide the Atlantic Ocean really was. They just kind of knew how long it took to get across there. Without those longitude lines, distance was just a guessing game. So they're using these cartographers, these map makers, are using a different grid system. I think you guys are honest.
It was probably because of the different grids on the there's 3 different ones. They'll say like grid 1 and then which box to know their relative location.
Yes, they're trying to guesstimate or guess at their relative location. Actually, it's pretty accurate here. You can tell the Atlantic between Africa and South America was much better explored by the Portuguese, of course. Brazil at the time, so it makes sense. But yeah, good point. All right, let's take a look over here. Cheyenne, Sammy, Eloise, who's our speaker over here? All right, Sammy, tell us what you learned about the purpose. What do you think the purpose of this map was?
To study different culture, because there are many languages of and there are some humans, and all of the humans should have cultures.
That's a really interesting point. The drawings, it almost looks like what we call like a children's map today, with all these different drawings of which you find in different places of the earth. It's a really interesting point. Who do you think primarily would use these maps?
Sailors.
Do you agree, disagree, Sam?
I think it's people like studying and it's not for students.
Why do you think it was for studying in Portugal? Because of the cultures? What else?
Because like there are other illustrations like the religious figures.
It's a good point. I hadn't thought about that. It's a really good point. And Jai, you think it was used for what?
Sailing.
So you guys can next tell us why you think it was used for
Sailing
sailing
or trading.
Why is that?
So that ships could find places to dock and go and trade with other countries.
Do you see a focus on ships and places for ships to dock? You don't?
Or actually, I don't know.
This is a good point. So was this used for sailing? Was this used for analysis of cultures? Where are all the cities and towns and apparently ports? Where are all these places on the map? What part of the map? If we look, there's apparently towns, ports, and docks all around here.
Oh, coast?
Yeah, so guys, we're looking at a map that only shows the coastline, basically. Why would you only show the coastline?
You were trading.
Presumably, yeah. These are people that stayed along the coast. So they've got a pretty accurate description in this map, the authors do, the cartographers do, of Africa. But there's drawings inside of Africa. It's a good point that Sammy brought up. But really, all the important locations are listed along the coastline. It's a great point. All right, and then there's one more group that we're going to have to talk. Values and limitations. Oh, that was you guys. Here's a question for each. Here's a question for each group. I'm going to come over here, guys. What limits this map? Who's our speaker over here? I'm going to come back to you, Justin, in a second.
No.
Elliot, what limits do you have? What else do you wish you knew in this map? I'll come back to you in a second. I kind of sprung that on you. What do you think? What else do you wish you knew, Elliot? But Justin, I know you were ready for this question. What else? What limitations did you find? What else do you wish you knew? What else do you want to know?
Fill out all parts of the matrix. Add scale and matrix.
Yeah, there may be a scale there, but can you read the scale? Why not? Go ahead, Brian. What do you mean?
Language.
What about language? Better language.
They can't translate everything. Whatever.
Yeah, literally, guys, we can't read the map. That's a big limitation to our study of this topic. We just can't read the map. That's a good point. Elliot? Places that are what?
That you can avoid them.
Okay, yeah. Yeah, if you're a sailor, right? That's a good point. Other commentary, Elliot, or anybody else on this map right now? Okay, so I want you to use these tools when we analyze documents: origin, content, purpose, value, and limitations. But I want us to switch now to some other information. You're going to visit 2 other stations, and we got about half an hour to do this. You're going to look at 3 stations in the remainder of class today, and then for home we're going to kind of summarize this all together. We give you about 8 minutes at each station. And these stations, I want you to analyze some really quick readings and in one case of video. So raise your hand if you're at station A right now. Who's at station A? Raise your hand if it's station A right now. Who's at station A? All right, good. If you're at station A, here's what you're doing. Go to... You get to click on this link. Researchers, click on this link, and you're going to watch a really short video on the way Henry and others in Portugal developed ships. Who's at station B right now? Station B. Open up that folder and read a brief biography about Henry the Navigator. And who was he, this guy I keep talking about? And then who's at station C right now? Station C, Station C, who's at station C? At station C, you are going to open that folder and read about tools, other tools besides like compasses, that Portuguese navigators used. Go ahead and open those up, especially the astrolabe. Please open that up, read those, and answer those questions. You have 8 minutes. Questions for the whole class right now? All right, cool. We got about 8 minutes, and then we're going to be rotating. So start working now. You guys have this folder, yeah, so open this up. This, if you start down here, it's a giant. Who's here? This is who handed it over here was. You guys, I want you to start reading right away. I don't need you to read right now, but I do need you to read. It's really important. What's an astrolabe?
The sheet seen here looks a lot like an early Portuguese term. It is a copy of the native. It still has quite a bit of numbers, for just like the native, the earliest term was high in the water, twice as fast. Still wide enough to be able to carry large amounts of water.
You're talking about
Thank you.
And fast. It was still wide enough to be able to burn a large amount of
They started to explore outside the US because of the
They basically charge
The sales of the ships usually carry debt costs. With these new ships and the well-trained seamen coming from the sea, Prince Henry began a systematic campaign of exploration on the southern half of the Pacific. Although his main motive for these explorations was to find a new trade route in Asia. He also had a few more changes on him. First, he hoped to chart unknown regions of
victory after the forces or
and Prince back with failed information. Which could be analyzed after school. Second, he hoped to claim land and establish valuable that would increase the wealth of
So why is it, oh, which is the scope that exposed? Why was that workable to actually? That's one point. This one is because it was lighter.
and third, he hoped to bring the Christian
That's it.
Can they find the one? Yeah, find it. I don't think you can.
Why don't they go to like conquer in Europe?
Yeah, I can't find it. Russia. I'm only measuring latitude. You can measure latitude. Yeah.
You're trying to look for why they were the,
so he
why was
had
it
made
the
religious service held in his church.
why did the other times, why was it the Portuguese that outside of Europe look for wealth?
Portuguese exploration.
First Europeans to explore colonizers. Why do you think it was that country instead of other European countries? So what does this thing do? There's actually.
It shows how these values as a specific place.
But what's it used to determine? What do you figure out? You discover how it's going to stuff. You can't criminalize you, you can't criminalize you. Okay. So what is this now?
For Henry's talking about how to study
People instead of using. You might have the compass, but you don't know exactly where you are. So you make a compass, you know where you're going. Not where you're going. Not east west. So Henry, like, why did Henry and the Portuguese explore outside of Europe? Why wasn't there Italians? Why was the Portuguese who explored outside of Europe first? Why wasn't other people?
I think they just figured out where
No, I'm at the wrong station. Okay, so what you guys heard?
that was too.
What's a caravel?
Oh no.
Sorry, what's a caravel, guys?
A caravel is the ocean.
Okay, why was it? And you put down, why was it better? It's like the classic, Christopher Columbus. We're out of time. Wait till we're okay. All right, guys, we are out of time, and I apparently turned buying off. That's right, I turned it off on time. Take about 30 seconds to finish up since I didn't give you a warning. And then we're moving on, guys. If you're done with these papers, please put them inside the folder. I came up with a really cool folder just for that reason. Oh my God. I'm so sorry. Okay, I'll fix that in a second. All right, I'll do that in a second. All right, I need you all with me in 7, 6, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. Okay, here's what we're going to do at this point. Researchers, I would keep your computer. But everybody else, I would not carry all my junk with me. I would take my packet, but please put away where you wrote down what your roles are today. Put that somewhere and not on your desk, and don't leave that behind. Secondly, please put all the papers inside the folder and close the folder. And then, lastly, don't move yet. But anything you don't want to carry with you, please put on the computer benches on the side or back of the room, please. Don't go anywhere else yet. Hold on. About 30 seconds. Be back. Ten, 9, 8, 7, 6, 5, nice watch drawing, 3, 2, 1, 0. Alright, head back to your original seat. Let's make sure we know what to do. I want everybody to point where they're going to move next. A goes to B, B goes to C, C goes to A. Everybody point right now. Where are you going to go? Where are you going to go? Point. Pointing is nice. Where are you going? Jerry, where are you going? Alright. Okay, please rotate. A to B, B to C, C to A. We have 8 minutes. Station A, you're watching that video. Researchers, open your computer. Station A. Be there in 7, 6, 5. Who was supposed to rotate this way? So, Olivia, William, and Eason. Stay in your pod, man. 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. Alright. Station A. Can we start? Copy machine in there. Oh, yeah. guys can open the documents there. And you can open the documents here.
Are we talking about the movie? Just a lot
The Mariners, someone just said those common places in the ocean. So that tool is actually. Yeah, for Mariners. For Mariners being like sailors, yes. First, we're not talking about J.A.
Other types of ships, called cargo. Ships that have been runners exterior, as well as crossing. The ship seen here looks a lot like a really good ship.
What's your name?
Yes.
Sorry.
And even though the bay was built 150 years after Henry's death, it's for just like the earliest
like massive amounts of pollution or massive amounts of mining, but actually, because it's a giant interconnected system, power production, it's actually environmental. But moving the bigger wall would be an environmental adaptation. Because you adapt in a small way what you do in order to
here in Lagos,
right? So it's
not navigations.
don't forget this
Prince Henry built the crown. And since much of the came from an ancient organization the sailors called
Does that actually help you to go slower?
Henry.
Yeah.
Really?
The sails of the ships usually carry the emblem
2 minutes
of
and
cross.
it's a little weird.
So make sure you have time.
But with these new ships and the well-trained seamen coming to the sea, Prince Henry began a systematic campaign of exploration. And his main goal with these expeditions was to find a new trade route to Asia. He also had a few more immediate goals. First, he hoped to chart unknown regions of the world and to bring back detailed information which could be analyzed in history. Second, he hoped to claim land and establish boundaries that would increase the wealth and influence. And third, he hoped to bring the Christian religion to people in these new lands. So he had daily lands established boundaries which could be analyzed. First, a trade route to Asia. He also had a few more immediate goals. First, he hoped to chart unknown regions of the world and to
Astrolabe. Uncharted regions of the world. Astrolabe.
bring back detailed information which could be analyzed at the screening. Second, we hope to claim land and establish value. That would increase the wealth and power of this country. And third, we hope to bring the Christian religion to people in these new lands.
I've got to go reset the code. Never mind, I'll do it there. Can't do it. I'll show you. What we'll do. This way they hack everything.
And so we even have daily religious services from this church and navigations.
Just like. No, actually, on the final wall, that's the way to gauge. Anyways, actually, what are these for? Yeah, and so like, they might have a compass to determine where to go, but what would they learn from this astronaut?
The compass has a general direction of like eight angles, while the astral would show you the circular. Maybe you will follow this direction in between these stars to go directly to this place.
True.
It's like a really inaccurate map.
Shows you what.
这下子没写啊。
So, it actually shows launch, which is still but they certainly know which direction to go.
没有办法知道。
Apparently we're out of time. All right, last station. Y'all ready? I don't know what happened to the screen. I like dragged it over here or something. All right, last station. Hey, before you go, hold on. Put the documents inside the folder, please. Please don't just leave them hanging all over the place. Close the folder, put documents inside. Last station. Ready? Set. Go. I'm starting now, man. Should be started in 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. Please open those documents and start reading or watching.
Leadership. made out until 150 years after Napoleon's death, it still had quite a bit of relevance for business. For just like the Navy, the earliest items of iron art, but the sunlight, it was a here in Lagos, not far from the navigations, Prince Henry found a ship built in Ireland. And since much of the money for these ships came from an ancient organization of sailors, Knights of Christ, of which Prince Henry was leader, the sails of the ships usually carried the emblem across the piers. With these new ships, and the well-trained seamen coming from the sea, Prince Henry began a systematic campaign of exploration out the coast of Africa. Although his main motive for these explorations was to find a new trade route to Asia, he also had a few more immediate motives. First, he hoped to chart unknown regions and to bring back famous information which could be analyzed at his school. Second, he hoped to bring land in Spanish Valley that would increase the amount of
Yeah, I think I have to work that after. No, I'm not sure. I really hard. Yeah, I have to change my, I have to copy my schedule. No, we can't do it. We can't do this. We can put it in the box and return. Just go back and go. This way, at least. Yeah. You done with the station? Let's finish up. Can you finish up first? The last station. Major problems could really help what specifically do you determine? Have a compass that tells you where you are. But this doesn't help for you too. It's just as a goal. Yeah. So what does this device do for you? Excellent. Yeah, it only shows latitude. You can't determine longitude by using the sun or the stars. But you can determine latitude. See, what is this device do? It's actually figure out. It does. What specific problems? You have a compass that tells you where to go. Okay, you can tell time for celestial events, but if you're sailing on a boat, take a look at this document too. What just specifically does it determine? A compass will tell you where to go, how do you know where you are? Ah, yeah, was it Jeffrey? Yeah, you can figure out latitude. That's key because a compass doesn't tell you your latitude, it just tells you where north is. Only one of them. Longitude is still looking at no geographic reality for longitude. And then latitude itself about 1 minute.
I think the ball's broken.
Yeah, we leave it at 1. Oh, it's time, isn't it? Oh, it's time. All right, I need you all with me in about 10 seconds. If you're not done, I'm gonna check real quick. But hold on, don't go anywhere. I need you all with me in 10, 9, 8, 7, 6, 5, 4. Is that my computer, Mr. Greenspan? Yep. Would you mind turning off the thing before? You know, I'll turn the volume on. All right, you all with me. 5, 4, 3, 2. Okay. Here's what I want you to do. I need you to notice if you go into Classroom. Actually, Mr. Greenspan, would you mind just clicking on Classroom and pulling up one of the documents? Can you see that can you do that with my split screen? No, don't worry, let's leave it at that, because they get, let's not worry about it right now, we'll skip it for now. So here's what I want you to do. Make sure this is completed, this packet. You're gonna bring these notes back tomorrow. That's what these are, your notes. Tomorrow, or Thursday. On Thursday, you'll also get your notes back that you just turned in. Don't worry about it, it's cool. Don't worry about it, Mr. Greenspan. Turn out and get those notes that you just turned back in, and you'll get those back. From those, you're going to connect the Renaissance to Henry the Navigator, because you've already learned about the Renaissance. So all you need to do is make sure these stations are all set, everything's done with these materials, you can bring it back just like you did with your homework that you turned in today. Any questions? All right, please put the documents back inside the folder. Don't lose your notes, you just created, and you can go. Thank you.